chance to rest after a grueling 162-game season, and teams spent their time wisely. We can see the Orioles used 4 different people at third base and rotated their infield numerous times to make up for the Manny Machado injury, the Chris Davis suspension. So these teams are using their time wisely, and like you said, the Red Sox last year had a 5.5-game lead. The San Francisco Giants, who won the year before, had an 8-game lead. They're using their time wisely, and history says that when you have rest, you perform better in the postseason.
Yeah, and arguably the most important part of a team going into the playoffs is the health of your pitching staff.
Exactly.
And this rest gives teams time to rest their pitchers, especially ones who are veterans on teams like the Orioles and the Nationals. They need time to let their arms rest throughout from this 162-game season.
And I will say, as a manager, you don't want to rest a player for too long, though, because coming in cold to a playoffs is bad. There are no redos in the postseason, so you want to make sure you manage that time and make sure the players are coming in with enough rest, but not too much where they come in cold.
We'll see how the momentum translates for those specific teams that clinched a little bit earlier. But talking about pitching staffs, it was an exciting MLB trade deadline this year with 2 big pitchers on the move. Jon Lester going from Boston to the Oakland Athletics, David Price moving up to the Detroit Tigers. But an argument could be made that those teams were actually better before those trades actually happened. So what do you all think? Is it better, if you have that possibility of a big trade for like a Lester or a Price, better to make it or just stay with team chemistry?
I'll go first on this one because I have a strong feeling. Team chemistry is the most overrated thing in all of professional baseball because baseball is such an individualized sport. Ultimately, if you can get the best players, they're going to give you the best opportunity to win. So why not go out and get it? Team chemistry is not important.
Yeah, I have to agree, Tim. I think what the Tigers and Athletics did was get players in positions that don't need chemistry, and that's pitcher. David Price and Jon Lester are going to do nothing but help their teams. But on the defensive side, there are 2 positions, I think, that benefit from more chemistry, and that's shortstop and second base. Look at the Orioles. One of the big problems coming into this year was second base. They had no one. Did they go out and buy a new player in a Chase Utley or something like that? No. They stuck with homegrown talent in Jonathan Scope, and shortstop J.J. Hardy ended up with the 2nd most double plays turned, and double plays can be a pitcher's savior in the postseason. I think in that sense, chemistry is important, but on the offensive side, throw chemistry out the door. It's not a thing on offense.
Yeah, especially on offense, too. But I think going back to pitching, I don't think it's as overrated as you said it was, just because of the non-intangibles that you can't really measure on a field, which is emotion and the relationships that players build with each other throughout a year. We see players go from teams midway through the year over the history of baseball, and they just start playing poorly for no reason. My prime example is whenever players go to the Mets and they're really good. For example, Carlos Beltran going from the Astros to the Mets back in the day. He was a stud on the Astros, but when he went to the Mets,
if you're a good player, I'll say this: if you're a good player, you're going to put up your stats no matter who your catcher is. If you're a pitcher, no matter where you're playing in the field, if you're a good player, you're going to put up the stats. That's why you see a lot of teams. WAR correlates very strongly with overall wins in a regular season and playoff performance as well. And it's not like basketball, football, where you have to play within a system, and that matters a whole lot more.
Yeah, not in baseball.
Well, both the Tigers and Athletics look really good early in the season. Hopefully, now, even with those better pieces, they can actually get some momentum coming into the playoffs and have a good showing. But also joining us today on the show is our social media expert, Natalie Beach, who will be on the side set, filling us in on everything going on leading up to tonight's wild card game. Natalie, the A's and the Royals are getting ready to start, so what are the lineups for tonight?
Thanks, Preston. First, we have the Royals players who are ready to go at 8:07. Leading off is shortstop Alcides Escobar, followed by right fielder Nori Aoki, batting third center fielder Lorenzo Cain, batting cleanup first baseman Eric Hosmer, designated hitter Billy Butler, sixth left fielder Alex Gordon, catcher Salvador Perez, second baseman Omar Infante, third baseman Mike Moustakas batting ninth, all behind pitcher James Shields. And then for the Oakland Athletics, leading off is center field Coco Crisp, followed by left fielder Sam Full, third baseman Josh Donaldson, designated hitter Brandon Moss, in fifth, right fielder Josh Reddick, shortstop Jed Lowry, first baseman Stephen Vaught, catcher Giovanni Solo, and last but not least, second baseman Eric Sogard, all behind pitcher Jon Lester. So guys, first impressions, you've seen the lineups, what do we think?
I'll start off. With the A's, I think it's very clear. They're trading defense for offense. They're sacrificing offense in order to prevent runs from being scored, which is very intelligent in this type of game. I do have one problem. Sam Fuld should not be batting second. I would personally put Stephen Vogt in that spot and have them switch places, but it's very clear here what their goal is, and I like it.
I see that's what their goal is, but you have to score runs somehow, so that's why at catcher, I'm surprised I don't have Derek Norris in there. He's a better hitter than Giovanni Soto, and Soto has never in his career caught John Lester before, so that could be a problem where Norris has over the past couple months.
I worry maybe a little bit defensively in that aspect, but Soto is a solid defensive catcher, and both of them hit right-handed pitching equally well.
Yeah, and you were talking about how Soto is a good defensive catcher, and the Royals actually lead the majors in steals, and Soto has proven himself to be a better fielding catcher and throwing out runners than Norris. So, I mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think both teams have realized that this is going to be a defensive-minded game, a low-scoring game, which is, and if you look at the Royals, the only player to homer off of John Lester is Eric Hosmer, and he's done it once. The Athletics, no one's really done well against James Shields except for Josh Reddick. I think the Athletics are relying on a guy like Josh Reddick or Josh Johnson to come in with that one big hit.
And that's why I think they should have Adam Dunn in the lineup too.
Well, no doubt about it. It's going to be a big matchup on the mound tonight. Big game, James Shields on the mound versus John Lester. That'll be huge. Again, that game will start about 8:07 on TBS tonight. But we are off to a hot start tonight. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. Coming up after the break, Eric and Connor join me back here to break down tonight's big American League wildcard game. Anywhere.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I don't know what's happening. A new check. What did I do? Okay. Wow. That is so weird.
Hey! Hi!
Oh my gosh. Hi! God, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so nervous. Gia, you're so big. Come closer to the camera. Wait, now you're in my face. That was so good.
Welcome back to 101 Sports MLB postseason preview show. I have Eric Stefano and Connor Delpreet here to break down the game of the night, the Oakland Athletics at the Kansas City Royals, which starts at 8:07 p.m. tonight on TBS. Guys, the Athletics are just a month ago, we thought they were the favorites to win the American League, and now they're in a wild card game on the road against Kansas City. So how do we see this wild card game breaking down tonight?
I think this game is going to be very close, and I think it'll be very low scoring. The Vegas over-under is 6.5, which tells you it's going to be very low scoring, and the Royals are favored. They're a -107 favorite. But I do think the Oakland A's will win this game, and the reason why, the A's active roster has a slightly higher weighted on-base average of 312 compared to the Royals' 305. So I think they're slightly better offensively. And then John Lester has a K percentage of 24.9% as opposed to Shields' 19.2%. I think he's going to strike out a little bit more batters, have a little bit better game. I look for the A's to win about 3-2.
I couldn't agree more. I think both teams in the second half of the year have struggled to score. Yet the Oakland Athletics have scored 80 more runs than the Royals this year, which just shows how good they've been in the first half. And I think it's going to be a little rejuvenation of the Athletics offense. But looking at the pitching matchups, it is going to be a defensive-minded game. So John Lester versus James Shields, I give the advantage to Lester because this is a guy that thrives in the postseason. He has a 6-4 record, 2.11 ERA, not to mention the 2 7-inning gems he threw last. Whereas James Shields is a little more iffy with a just below 5 ERA. He hasn't won a game since September 10th. I think the Athletics push 1 run aboard, but they have to do that before the 7th inning because the Royals' bullpen is the best in the league.
And we also just discussed the importance in this game is defense and preventing runs. And with the A's lineup, that shows that they're willing to play solid defense in this game.
Well, it is a home game for Kansas City. It's one of the first home games they've hosted in the playoffs in a while. And they had, he's got the nickname for a reason, Big Game James Shields. So why do you think the pitching matchup's leaning more towards John Lester right now?
Again, John Lester is going to try to prove what he's worth. The Athletics went out and got him from the Red Sox, and John Lester wants to prove that he is a postseason presence. He's a guy to be reckoned with, whereas James Shields, he's a very good pitcher, but I just see him getting outdueled in this situation.
He's not as good as Lester, and also you look at the main bats for the Royals, it's Alex Gordon, Eric Hosmer, Noriaoki even, and what do they all have in common? They're all lefties. So.
All right, well, that's going to be a great game to watch. Both of our experts seem to be pretty confident in the Oakland Athletics tonight, and John Lester will come out of that game on top. Again, the Athletics will take on the Kansas City Royals on 8:07 p.m. on TBS. John Lester for the A's and James Shields on the mound for the Royals. Moving over to the National League now, we're going to look at the NLDS. A couple teams that look like big-time contenders, the Nationals, Cardinals, and Dodgers, all safely through in the NLDS right now. And the Giants and the Pirates will play tomorrow night in the wild card game. But who do you have in the NLDS right now?
I have the Nationals and the Giants in the first one, and I see the Nationals winning. This might be the only series sweep in the first round, only because I will say the Giants did come on strong in the second half in terms of run production, but Angel Pagan is out. And when he was on the field, the Giants won 59% of their games. With him off the field, they only won 47%. You can just see the impact that he has on that team. Moving over to pitching, Peavy and Bumgarner have been amazing. But looking past that, it's Ryan Vogelsong, Tim Hudson have been very inefficient, especially when you compare them to the Nationals pitching staff. Listen, Jordan Zimmerman, Doug Fister, and Steven Strasburg, in their last 5 starts each, they combined for an 11-2 ERA with a 11-2 record with a 1.44 ERA. If that's not dominant, I see the Nationals defense making some great plays in Bryce Harper, Jason Worth. They have a very, very stacked lineup, and I just see them blowing out the Giants.
Yeah, I think they're simply a better team. And also, if you look at how the pitching matchups set up, Bumgarner's throwing in the wild card game. So he's not going to be able to pitch game 1, so they're probably going to have to go to Tim Hudson. And then that sets Bumgarner back a little bit, and that's very disadvantageous for the Giants. And the Nationals, they're a fantastic hitting team. They're a fantastic pitching team. I'll look for them to get this done easily.
Exactly.
All right, well, a very intriguing National League Divisional Series awaits us. A lot that can happen there. Pretty wide open right now. We're going to step away, though, again. But after the break, John is back to look at the Los Angeles Angels pitching staff coming into the ALDS. Don't go anywhere.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
No thanks, Dad. I got it.
Okay. I'm gonna go fix the lamp in your room.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
RBIs and 36 homers. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it deep back into the stands.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back to the One-on-One Sports MLB postseason preview show. I'm John Roddy. The Los Angeles Angels had a fantastic month of September, thanks in large part to their starting pitching. With the ALDS coming up, here is the rotation the Angels should use that will give them the best chance to advance to the next round. Jared Weaver should start Game 1, as he has been the Angels' best pitcher this year and needs to start off the ALDS to give the Angels an early win and an edge in the series. Not only does Weaver bring an 18-9 record and a 121 whip, he also brings valuable experience to the table. Game 2 should go to Matt Shoemaker, who has easily been the best pitcher on the Angels behind Weaver this year. He boasts a 3.04 ERA with a 16-4 record and a 1.07 whip. Form as of late will make up for his lack of experience, especially since he will be pitching behind a seasoned veteran in Weaver. There is some concern, however, that Shoemaker will not be going 100% into the series after having suffered a mild left rib cage strain on September 15th. The Angels remain hopeful that they will be able to rely on him during the series and throughout the rest of the playoffs. Game 3 should go to C.J. Wilson, who is the next best option in this rotation. Although he hasn't posted the prettiest numbers this year, he will slot in nicely behind Weaver and Shoemaker as a reliable number 3. He, along with Weaver, will bring valuable experience to this stacked rotation. The Angels should go with a 3-man rotation in this series in order to get the most out of their best pitchers. With enough days rest in between games, Weaver should be able to pitch Game 4 if necessary, and Shoemaker will then pitch Game 5 if needed. This means the Angels will pitch their 2 best available pitchers for 80% of the series if it goes to 5 games. But surely Weaver, Shoemaker, and Wilson will all be aiming to make this a clean sweep so they can rest up for the ALCS. That's all the time we have for the Angels pitching staff, but stay tuned as myself and the rest of the baseball experts discuss our favorite playoff moments after this commercial break.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Here's your check.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No?
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
The MLB is just one of those leagues that transcends time and brings some of sports' most memorable moments year after year. And there are no bigger moments than those that happen in the playoffs. Now joined by the guys back here who will be giving me their most memorable MLB playoff moments. And we also have Natalie over on the side set giving us some of the moments that our followers have been sharing with us under the hashtag MLB playoff moments. So Eric, we'll start with you. Your most fondest MLB playoff moment.
I'm going to take you back to Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS between the Cubs and the Marlins. And this was the infamous Steve Bartman game where the Cubs were 5 outs away from winning or from making the trip to the World Series. And Luis Castillo hits a foul ball towards Steve Bartman in the vicinity. Moises Alou trying to catch the ball. It's a very catchable ball. He gets robbed by Bartman. And then after that play happened, Castillo reached base on a walk, and then the Marlins proceeded to score 8 runs after that. I've never seen, and this is my favorite moment because I've never seen life be sucked out of a baseball environment, a city, and change one human's life forever. And a really cool stat that I have is before the Bartman play, the Cubs' win expectancy was at 92%. After the, at the middle of the 8th, it dropped to just 2%. That's a remarkable shift. Wow. Just how it shifted on such a grand scale was unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, Natalie, what do we have over there at the desk?
Our first moment comes from Ryan Ballack on Facebook. He gets nostalgic thinking about when Endy Chavez robbed Scott Rowland home run off Oliver Perez in Game 7 in 2006. Unreal. Kept the Mets in the game, still wouldn't win it, but unbelievable catch, undisputably.
Absolutely. All right, Connor, you're up next. What do you?
So I'm going to take you back to 1988, Game 1 of the World Series. We have the Dodgers versus the Athletics. We have Kirk Gibson, who didn't even play the first 8 innings. He was on the physical therapy table getting his 2 injured legs and his stomach virus fixed. He decides he wants to come on and help his team, so he just waltzes up in the 9th inning. He's got 2 outs, a man on second against the current saves leader, Dennis Eckersley. All right, so every time he falls behind 0-2. Then he gets some balls, he starts fouling off pitches. Every time he fouls off a pitch, he crumples down to his knees. The pain is too much. The crowd doesn't think he's going to do anything. Then all of a sudden, on a 3-2 count, Eckersley throws a backdoor slider. What does Gibson do? He muscles it over the right field wall, runs around the bases, gives him a boom, boom, boom fist pump. Not only is that one of the most iconic sports memories in Los Angeles history, it is also one of the most iconic images in MLB history, seeing Kirk Gibson limp around the bases. That's my favorite moment.
No doubt about it, Kirk Gibson. That's an iconic moment. Natalie, what else do you have?
MLB playoff moment number 2 comes from Ben Naughton, also on Facebook. His top memory is Jason Worth's walk-off homer against the Cards in Game 4 of the 2012 NLDS. And I know Ben's hoping his Nationals will add to that postseason success later this week.
All right, thank you, Natalie. All right, Tim, it's now up to you.
All right, guys, I'm going to take you way back to 2013. Last year's ALCS Red Sox-Tigers Game 2. Scherzer's dominating. No hit. The Red Sox threw 5 2/3 innings. Struck out 13 on the night. Red Sox down 5-1 in the 8th. They need to find a way to come back. Bases loaded. David Ortiz, Big Papi at the plate, sends the ball into the bullpen. The police officer goes crazy. Crowd goes crazy. Red Sox end up walking off, and it saved their season.
Definitely one of the more iconic moments of the whole year, that moment right there in the bullpen with the police officer. All right, Natalie, moment number 3, what do we have?
Our last moment comes from Twitter. @DanLevin91 says his favorite moment was the Luis Gonzalez walk-off winner in Game 7 of the incredible 2001 World Series. Arizona Diamondbacks winning it on a walk-off. It just doesn't get much better than a walk-off victory.
Absolutely. All right, John, you're batting cleanup. What's your favorite MLB playoff moment?
Well, Eric, I'm going to break your heart here.
Oh,
2005 NLDS, Astros, Braves. Chris Burke hits an absolute liner over the Crawford boxes in the 18th inning as the Astros cap a 7-run comeback to win the NLDS and beat the Braves. Finally, in the first round of the playoffs. Went to the World Series.
18 innings.
That didn't happen there for the Astros, but you know.
Well, yeah, you know. I watch a game for 6 hours, and that's what I get.
I was there.
Well, we can rest assured that the Astros haven't had much playoff success since then. True. We can all hope that we see more special moments like these in this year's MLB playoffs. Coming up after the break, Tim is over here breaking down the Dodgers lineup and the X Factor, who will be from their lineup. Absolutely, under no circumstances should you go anywhere.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs in the community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Hello and welcome back to the 101 Sports Live Show. I'm Tim Kraus. The NL West champion Los Angeles Dodgers finished the regular season with 94 wins, which gives them home field advantage in their NLDS series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Starting lineups are always important in October, and the Dodgers lineup produced the 7th most runs in Major League Baseball this season. That being said, there are ways in which Don Mattingly can optimize LA's offensive production this October. My Dodgers lineup against right-handed pitchers is the following: D. Gordon at second base, Yasiel Puig in center, Hanley Ramirez at shortstop, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Matt Kemp in right, Carl Crawford in left, Juan Uribe at third, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and then the pitcher spot. Since this is my lineup against righties, some viewers may be surprised to see Carl Crawford in the outfield instead of Andre Ethier. While Ethier's career splits against righties are an impressive .304, .383, and .506, Ethier's numbers this season are much lower. His 2014 average against righties is 51 points less than his career average. His 2014 on-base percentage is 58 points less, and his 2014 slugging percentage is a staggering 121 points lower than his career average. Needless to say, Ethier struggled this season. Carl Crawford, on the other hand, has been very good against righties this season, posting a slash line of .292, .327, and .412. Surprisingly, Crawford's season numbers against lefties are even better, albeit in a small sample size. Crawford's solid 2014 season earns him the starting left field job in my 2014 playoff lineup. My lineup against left-handed pitchers is similar, but contains some important changes. As you can see, I have Scott Van Slyke leading off and playing left. Van Slyke destroys left-handed pitchers, and this season he's posted a .415 on-base percentage, a .630 slugging percentage, and a .1045 OPS against lefties. He's the guy I want leading off my batting order. I also substituted Justin Turner in for D. Gordon at second base. In that move, I'm utilizing the righty-lefty matchup, and Turner's numbers against lefties are simply better than Gordon's. The last change I made is moving Adrian Gonzalez from 4th to 6th. While Gonzalez has been excellent against righties this season, his slash line against lefties is a miserable .201, .261, and .327. Gonzalez's potential for power always warrants a spot in the lineup, but against lefties, I would not bet him cleanup. My X factor for the Dodgers this postseason is their Cuban sensation, Yasiel Puig. He will spend this October hitting second in the Dodgers lineup, and LA will rely on him to move runners over or get on base for Gonzalez and Kemp. Puig may also be tasked with patrolling center field this October. His production will play a major role in how far the Dodgers go this postseason. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have to discuss the Dodgers, but stay tuned, as after the break, I will join John and Preston to break down tomorrow's National League wildcard game.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning, 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash, 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
RBIs and 36 homers. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it deep back into the stands.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Check your steps at foodsafety.com.
Let's go in. Let's go. Okay.
She's gonna love me all over again.
Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good Anytime.
Welcome back to the One-on-One Sports MLB postseason preview show. We've broken down the AL wildcard game already, but tomorrow night we have the NL wildcard game. The San Francisco Giants at the Pittsburgh Pirates at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Madison Bumgarner will take the mound for the Giants and will face against the Pirates' Edison Volquez. Tim and John are here to break this one down. So, guys, how do we see this one going? Tim, we'll start with you.
So we'll start with the pitching matchup here. As you said, Bumgarner, Volquez. Bumgarner's a true ace. He deserves to be in this game. Fantastic pitcher. Giants are happy he's there. For the Pirates, really? Edison Volquez? Really? He's your third or fourth starter on a good day. And I know he's been good in his past 2 games, but is he really the guy you want to have your season on?
Who should they have gone with?
If I were the Pirates, I would have pitched Francisco Liriano on 3 days rest, because at least he's the ace that you can trust in. So just as far as the pitching goes, you have to believe the Giants have the advantage.
And we're this late into the season. If this was April or May and you asked me to pitch Liriano on 3 days rest, no way I'm pitching him on 3 days rest.
But this is the postseason.
But this is the playoffs.
Do or die.
Yeah, this is do or die, especially since it's a wild card game. It's 1 game. And I think the real mistake here was pitching Garrett Cole in the regular season, even though they had a very low chance of winning that division.
Yeah,
even if they won, they'd have to have the Cardinals lose, and Wainwright was starting that game. Then they'd have to beat the Cardinals, which
it wasn't worth pitching him the other day. No. But the only saving grace for the Pittsburgh Pirates is their home and away splits. This team is terrible on the road. They're 37-44 on the road, but they're 51-30 at home. So hopefully for the Pirates, that's something that they can lean on. But overall, I got to think the Giants have the advantage.
The Giants also have a lot of experience, and Buster Posey knows how to call a game.
He does.
So I think that is just too much in the Giants' favor this time.
You think the home crowd will give them a little boost? I mean, this is a spirited team, so
it was excellent last year in that wild card game. It was a fantastic crowd, but I don't know.
We'll have to
still
see.
Gonna go Giants.
Again, a lot of agreement going on with these wild card games. But one thing, we talked about it just now. The Pirates, they always play with a ton of passion, especially at home, and that's definitely going to be at a high tomorrow night. That game tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on ESPN. We've gone over the NLDS, so of course now it's time to go over the ALDS. Where I fully believe that we have a good couple series coming up for us. The Angels and the Orioles and the Tigers, all very talented. Maybe you all agree with me that these could go either way. So how do we see the ALDS go? And John, we'll start with you.
Well, I truly believe that any team in the American League can win the World Series. I don't believe that with the National League because I don't think the Giants and Pirates have it. Okay. But I really think that every team in the American League has a chance.
You wouldn't pick the Orioles.
I would pick the Orioles and Royals because it's all about getting hot. But these 2 series, I see the 2 most talented teams getting out. Tigers and the Angels. Angels are going to beat the A's. Tigers are going to beat the Orioles.
See, I have the A's in that wild card versus division champion matchup too, but I have the A's winning. And I think this is going to be decided on the mound. And I know you broke down the Angels starting lineup earlier in the show, their starting rotation. But really, if it's decided on the mound, you got to give the A's the upper hand. Jeff Samardzija, since joining the team, has a 3.14 ERA. .93 whip and an 8.25 strikeout to walk ratio. That's fantastic. Sonny Gray is fantastic. John Lester's their ace.
You could go on all day, and I couldn't go on all day with the Angels because of course Richards just got injured.
Richards did got injured.
He got injured.
But killed him.
The thing that separates these 2 teams is their offense. And the Angels have one of the best offense.
Do you really trust C.J. Wilson in Game 3?
Do you trust the A's pitching staff against the best offense in the majors?
I do. They're that good.
I do not. I personally don't.
All right, well, let's look at the other one, Tigers versus the Orioles. Orioles had the home field advantage, but the Tigers, they have a ton of talent out there. Tim, how do you see that one going?
When I look at the Orioles, I don't think they have the pitching in their starting rotation to win a series in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I just can't see that happening. Their rotation is going to be Chris Timlin, Wei-Yin Chen, Bud Norris, and then if they need him, Miguel Gonzalez.
And
that's terrible.
You can see how the tides have turned in the major leagues in general. Yeah. 4 years ago, we're sitting here talking about the AL East as the worst division in the American League.
Yeah, it was 5 years ago the best. Now it's the worst.
And now it's the worst. Yeah. It's a case of the Orioles being good in a bad division.
And if you look at the Tigers lineup 1 through 5 with Kinsler, Hunter, Cabrera, Martinez, and JD Martinez, I think 1 through 5 they're the best team in baseball.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
They're fantastic.
And that's why they're going to win. Talent, in my opinion, these type of games, talent wins out.
And then the O's, they have question marks at third base because of Machado's injury. They have question marks at second base all year. They had question marks at catcher. The only scary part of their lineup is going to be their outfield, which is Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones, and Nick Markakis. But that's something these great Tigers pitchers can work through.
But that's not even that scary. Like, if you compare them to the teams in the AL East, that's scary. But you're comparing them to the Tigers, who have the best starting five hitters, as you said, in baseball. So
and the Tigers' pitching rotation is right now Price, Scherzer, Verlander, Porcello, and maybe Anibal Sanchez.
And that's enough said right there.
Yeah,
but do the Tigers show up? Because that's been a problem for them in the second half of the season. All right,
yeah,
the Tigers will
show up. It's the playoff time. They're showing up.
Tigers show up in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
All right, we got a lot of Tigers faithful right here. The biggest thing is going to be, can these teams play up to their expectations? Obviously, they agree here. But there's no doubt that all of these teams have the talent to go to the World Series, but will they show up in the playoffs? We will have to wait and see. And you will have to just wait just a little bit because after the break, Eric takes center stage to talk about one of the best pitchers in the league. Don't go anywhere.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Hello and welcome back to the 101 Sports MLB postseason show. I'm Eric DiStefano. Every Nationals fan knows how good Steven Strasburg and Jordan Zimmermann have been this season. However, it is helpful to have three dominant starters in a playoff rotation. The Nationals do have three dominant starters, and Gio Gonzalez is often overshadowed by Strasburg and Zimmermann. Gonzalez sports a 3.57 ERA this season with a 9.19 Ks per nine and a 3.18 base on balls per nine. His FIP of 3.03 suggests that he has been slightly better than his 3.57 ERA suggests. He has improved his walk rate tremendously since his days as an Oakland Athletic, and he will need to limit the free passes to his playoff opponents this season. Some of his potential opponents include the Dodgers and Giants, both of whom are in the top half of the league in weighted on-base average. The Dodgers walk 8.3% of the time, which ranks top 10 in Major League Baseball. Both the Dodgers and Giants have many righties that do an excellent job of crushing left-handed pitching. It will be important for Gio Gonzalez to throw first-pitch strikes, which is something that he does at a below-average rate for his career. Gio Gonzalez throws 4 pitches, a two-seam fastball, a four-seam fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. The changeup will be a crucial pitch for Gio Gonzalez, as he currently throws at 18.2% of the time, which is the highest of his career. Per 100 pitches, his changeup is the most valuable pitch that he owns, and it is worth 1.12 runs above average per 100 pitches. To keep hitters off balance, he will need to utilize his fastball and changeup, and both of them will need to be on point. Gio Gonzalez is a very good pitcher, and he often gets overshadowed by the other Nationals stars. The Nationals will need Gio Gonzalez very much so to perform at a high level if they hope to make a deep playoff run. That's all the time we have to talk about the Nationals' only left-handed starter. When 101 Sports returns, I'll be joined by Tim, John, and Natalie to answer some Twitter questions from our viewers. Stay tuned.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Get caught buzzed driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Welcome back to the 101 Sports MLB Playoff Preview Show. We're checking in once again with social media, and I have a few tweets from the fans. Eric, John, and Tim are here, and they're going to tell us what they think about these fan opinions. The first tweet comes from @BDD4Life. He says, Doug Fister pickup for the Nationals was the best offseason acquisition for any MLB team. So guys, what do we think? Do you guys agree? Which other offseason pickup for a postseason team do you think will have the most impact in October? Tim, we'll start with you.
I got to disagree with the guy on Twitter here. I have to go with Johnny Peralta. Peralta, unlike Fister, plays every single day. He's a guy that the Cardinals acquired this offseason for the postseason. His postseason career slash line is .283, .326, and .503. He could be a real X factor for the Cardinals this year. I like Peralta.
I gotta agree with the guy on Twitter. I mean, although he doesn't play every single day, one of the most important things in the playoffs is pitching, especially on this loaded Nationals rotation. I think that adding Fister is just even more that oomph that will get them through.
Yeah, but Fister might only play 2 or 3 times in the postseason.
Well, hey, you want someone who's a better offseason acquisition than both of the guys you said? Well, I have one. It's Ian Kinsler. He actually is the most valuable player on the Detroit Tigers this year. According to Fangraphs WAR, it's 5.5, and he's not a great offensive player. He's about league average, but he will impact the game as far as base running and defense is concerned. He's some of the best on his team at that. That'll come up huge in the playoffs and will help them get really far.
He's a guy who's been hitting leadoff for them all year. They rely on him to get on base, so I can see that. But I got to go with Peralta. I mean, the guy plays every day. He's a decent enough defender. He's what the Cardinals acquired in the offseason for at this moment.
Pitching is more important, I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to agree with John and the guy on Twitter. I think that Nationals lineup is scary. Second tweet comes from @BMags94. Cole Calhoun has been very underrated in the field this year. He's always making plays like that which go unnoticed. So what do we think? How important will Calhoun's play be in the Angels' chances of going far in the playoffs?
Well, I personally think Calhoun is the most underrated player, not only on the Angels, but in the entire league. Okay? Because Calhoun does something on this team which no one else has the ego to do, which is do all of the dirty work, do the defense, do the stuff that doesn't get all the flashy awards.
Trout does that.
Trout does that, but Trout also has the offense. Calhoun provides another safety net in the outfield. All right, he leads the AL in assists with 9.
Yeah,
right? So
he leads
that
the
just
AL
tells you
West in
enough.
outfield assists, and also offensively, he's very important. He leads off their lineup, so he sets the table for guys like Trout, Pujols, and Hamilton. Is he as important as those guys? Probably not, but he's a very important player because he's going to be the guy that those guys are driving in.
Yeah, he's very important, but I think you guys are overrating him a little bit. I think he's somewhere in between. I don't think he's quite the defender or the base runner that you guys are making him out to be. He's a good offensive player, and I do think his value comes in balancing out that lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
He helps out with the lefties and Ibar and Hamilton and then Calhoun. That makes it a truly balanced lineup.
Yeah, and he's what I like to call a keystone player, which means if you were to take him out of the lineup, it would all fall to pieces. So, you know, I like to think
fair enough. I think you do have to have him.
I mean, without him, you're
player.
probably forced to bat Trout leadoff.
Yeah, and I mean, the Angels have home field advantage throughout. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But now we're going to send it over to Connor on the regular set to break down the importance of middle relievers in October baseball.
Thanks, Natalie. Every baseball fan knows the ace pitchers like Clayton Kershaw and lights-out ninth-inning closers such as Mariano Rivera. But many don't recognize the pitchers that make these types of players' jobs more manageable, the middle relievers. In the past 5 Fall Classics, starting pitchers are averaging only 6.32 innings per game, which places a heavy importance on middle relievers during the postseason. While closers may get more spotlight and more digits on those checks for shutting down opponents in the last inning of the game, there has to be a pitcher that bridges the gap between the starting pitcher and closer. Oftentimes, middle relievers enter the game during a crucial situation where the starting pitcher has left men on base and the game hanging in the balance. The MLB playoffs increases the pressure on pitchers because one run can ruin all the hard work put in by a team during the regular season, which is why having a skilled set of middle relievers can be the key to getting that elusive World Series ring on your finger. Looking ahead at this year's postseason, there are 2 relievers in particular that I think will have big-time roles in their team's playoff run. Andrew Miller of the Baltimore Orioles and Tyler Clippard of the Washington Nationals. Let's start with one of the biggest pitching acquisitions by the Orioles this season in Andrew Miller. The 29-year-old joined the Orioles at the end of July and has exceeded expectations in what was already a loaded bullpen for the Birds from Baltimore. In the 23 games that he has stepped on the mound for the Orioles, he has compiled an exceptional 1.35 ERA as well as an astounding 15.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Expect Miller to mow down batters with his fastball and slider. It's important in playoffs to avoid walking batters because that one base runner can make the difference in a game or even a series. But you won't have to worry about that with Andrew Miller because he walks only 1.8 batters per 9 innings since joining the Orioles. I would expect Miller to be the unsung hero as the Orioles try to make amends for their early exit from the 2012 playoffs. Next, we travel across the Beltway to the Washington Nationals' own Tyler Clippard, who's having a year very similar to his All-Star season in 2011. This year with the Nationals, Clippard boasts a 2.1 ERA as well as walking only 23 batters this year. This is the lowest of his career, which speaks highly to the command of his pitches. Clippard has a swinging strike percentage of almost 14 this year, which means 14% of his pitches cause batters to swing and miss, good for top 30 in the league out of all pitchers. It's also important to note that the 29-year-old righty has the highest first strike percentage of his career with 63%. This means Clippard gets ahead in the count early, which is important because as a pitcher, you don't want to get caught behind in the count against some of the best hitters in the league come October. When it comes down to it, Clippard has thrown more innings than any reliever in baseball over the past 5 years and pitched to a 2.63 ERA. He's due to shine on the bright stage that the Nationals have built up for themselves this postseason, and I, for one, am excited to see how his performances unfold. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this analysis of the most underappreciated position in postseason baseball, but when we return, I will join my fellow experts back in the lounge to go over what you have all been waiting for, our World Series predictions. Stay tuned.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still.
Boys, hang on, boys!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Welcome back to 101 Sports MLB postseason preview show. Real quick, we're going to get to the Dodgers series. We have Connor and Eric down here to break that down. So guys, let's talk about this Dodgers series real quick. How do you see this one going?
Sure. I see the Dodgers winning this series, not fairly easily, but I do see them winning it. And that's because they're better pitching the ball and they're better hitting the ball. They have a weighted on-base average of 327 compared to the Cardinals' rate of 308. And the Dodgers, they have so many above-average players in their lineup. If you consider Puig, Ramirez, Gonzalez, Uribe, Crawford, Van Slyke even. They can attack you so many different ways, use the platoons for their advantage. And also, this being the most important, the Dodgers' rotation of Kershaw, Greinke, Ryu, and Herron is very strong. All 4 of them walk less than 2 per 9 innings, and 3 of the 4 have FIPs below 3. I think one key player in this series will be Matt Kemp, and it's a tale of 2 halves for him, really. In the first half, he had an OPS of 760, and in the second half, that jumped to 971. If the second half Matt Kemp shows up, the Dodgers are dangerous. Everyone there can get on base. They don't walk a lot of guys. They do all the things you want to win in the postseason. And really, to beat the Dodgers, I think you need a team that's very powerful in terms of being able to hit home runs, and the Cardinals just don't do that. They have only 2 players with 20 homers or more, and with the exception of Peralta, Matt Carpenter, and Matt Holliday, the members of the lineup don't really get on base at a high clip. And
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the Dodgers are going to squeak by the Cardinals in this in 5 games because this is the rematch of the NLCS last year. The Cardinals are going to try to replicate that performance when they roughed up Kershaw twice in that series, but I just don't think that's happening this year. It looks very bleak because Kershaw is having a banner year. This is one of his best years in his career, which is saying something. He's a 1.77 ERA with an astounding 10.8 strikeouts per 9. I just don't see the Cardinals overcoming that. They've lost guys like Carlos Beltran and David Freese in the past who have really elevated them in the postseason. I think it's going to put too much pressure on guys like Molina, and I think the Dodgers are going to come out on top.
Maybe overlooking the Cardinals? I mean, we get to the postseason every year, and I feel like the Cardinals, you know, they always bring their A game for the postseason. They are a postseason team by definition. Maybe overlooking them a little bit, but guys, it's all come down to this. The moment we've all been waiting for, it's finally here. Our experts' World Series prediction. Each one will give their predictions for the rest of the MLB playoffs, entering and then ending with their World Series predictions. All right, Tim, we're going to start with you. World Series predictions, playoff predictions, what do you have?
Well, playoff predictions, as I said earlier, Giants over Pirates, and then the other wild card, A's over Royals. And then in the DSs, I talked about the A's beating the Angels, Tigers over Orioles. Then I had in the NL, I have the Nationals beating the Giants, and the Dodgers beating the Cardinals, like you guys just said. So my league championship series are the Nationals defeating the Dodgers, in which should be an excellent series, and the Tigers defeating the A's. I think the Tigers' offense is just too good. So the World Series, what you guys have all been waiting for, Nationals beat the Tigers in 7 games.
Give me a quick blurb on the Nationals, why you think they're the best.
They're just the most balanced team this postseason, and really they don't have that many weaknesses. They do everything well.
All right, John, you're up next. Predictions.
All right, well, wild card games, I have Giants beating the Pirates, and I have the A's beating the Orioles. Excuse me, not the A's beating the Orioles, the A's beating the Royals. And then I have the DSs and the AL, I have the Angels beating the Orioles, and then I have, excuse me, I keep saying the Orioles. Angels winning that, and then the Tigers beating the Orioles. And then staying with the AL, I have the Angels beating the Tigers in the CS. Moving on to the NL, I've got the Cardinals winning, and I also have the Giants, so the Giants beating the Pirates, Cardinals beating the Dodgers, and then I also have the, I'm blanking out here.
Nats.
Nats, yes, I have the Nats winning. And then I have the Cardinals beating the Nats. World Series matchup, Angels, Cardinals. I've learned to always bet against the Cardinals up until now because they always do well in the playoffs. But I'm sorry, Cardinals, Angels are going to win this one. They're just too talented.
Wow, give me a quick blurb on the Angels, why you think they're the best.
Well, I mean, even though they lost Richards in their pitching rotation, Houston Street is probably their most important player at this point, especially because they had bullpen problems. Now they have it patched up. They have an amazing offense, and I think their pitching staff will hold up.
Maybe all that money will finally come out and actually give real dividends. Connor, let's go with you, your predictions.
So in the wild card, beating the Royals, like I talked about earlier, and then I have the Giants beating the Pirates. So in the ALDS, I have the Orioles beating the Tigers. The Tigers will flash back to last year when they blew when their bullpen blew 2 games against the Red Sox, but and then I have the Angels beating the Athletics. The Athletics, they've done great against the Royals, but really, are they going to beat the Angels? I don't think so. The Angels were the best team in baseball this year, and I think they're going to continue that. So the Angels versus the Orioles in the ALCS, this is a toss-up for me. I have the Angels coming out because I think their rotation puts in one last heroic effort, and the Orioles thrive on that long ball a little bit too much for my liking, so I'm going to have the Angels in the World Series. They're going to be facing the Nationals, who beat the Giants, because I think they're going to sweep the Giants. I think the Nationals are a very complete team. I think they're going to get it done. They're going to be facing the Dodgers, who squeak by the Cardinals, like I said. But the Nationals, if there were any starting rotation in the NL that I would choose over the Dodgers, it just happens to be the Nationals. And I think that's a deciding factor in this game. So World Series, we have Mike Trout versus Bryce Harper, and I have the Nationals. When it comes down to it, they have the best rotation in the league. They've also finished top 10 in many offensive categories, and I think Nationals fans or Nationals players, it's time to start fitting your fingers for those rings.
Wow, what a matchup that would be, Bryce Harper versus Mike Trout. I can see just the MLB banking off that World Series. All right, Eric, lead us.
All right, so my wild cards, I've got the A's over the Royals, and then I've got the Giants over the Pirates. Now moving to the National League Division Series, I have the Nats over the Giants, and then the Dodgers over the Cardinals, so they'll meet in the CS. And then in the ALDSs, I have the A's over the Angels and the Tigers over the Orioles. And then in the NLCS, I have the Dodgers over the Nats. And in the ALCS, I have the Tigers over the A's. I think these are, and in the World Series, I have the Dodgers and Tigers. And I think they're the two most complete teams. I mean, they pitch the ball, hit the ball really well. Detroit, not really such a great fielding team. The Dodgers are all right. Those are definitely the two most complete teams, and two teams that match the winning formula of getting on base and preventing other people from scoring runs the most. And I have the Dodgers over the Tigers in a fantastic World Series, probably in 6 or 7 games, no doubt. And Vin Scully can be satisfied that his Dodgers win another World Series before he retires.
See, I mean, the Dodgers always seem like a trendy pick coming this year. You think they finally pull it off?
Definitely. No doubt this is the year. I mean, the three, Greinke, Ryu, and Kershaw, have all been fabulous. And the lineup, honestly, does not have many below-average hitters at all.
You're going to take them over the Nationals, though?
Absolutely.
The Nationals came in with lofty expectations every year. I think this is the year that they finally get there. I think Bryce Harper is growing into his own.
They'll find a way to mess it up.
Strasburg have all stepped up, and I just think the Nationals are the most.
It'll be a good series, for sure.
Well, and that's all she wrote. Those are our expectations for these playoffs, our predictions. We have covered everything to do with the MLB playoffs, literally everything. We want to thank you for joining us here at One-on-One Sports for the MLB playoff preview show. If you missed anything from tonight's show, check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/1on1sports. Also, throw us a like on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at One-on-One Sports. For all of our talent, production, crew, and everyone else here in Studio B, thanks for watching. And from the bottom of my heart, enjoy the playoffs, everybody. It's a beautiful time. Good job.